Parallax scrolling is a special scrolling technique in computer graphics, wherein background images move by the camera slower than foreground images, creating an illusion of depth in a 2D video game and adding to the immersion. The technique grew out of the multiplane camera technique used in traditional animation since the 1930s, and was popularized among video games in the 1982 arcade game Moon Patrol. Methods. There are four main methods of parallax scrolling used in titles for video game console systems. The layer method. Some display systems support multiple background layers that can be scrolled independently in horizontal and vertical directions and composited on one another, simulating a multiplane camera. On such a display system, a game can produce parallax by simply changing each layer's position by a different amount in the same direction. Layers that move more quickly are perceived to be closer to the virtual camera. Layers can be placed in front of the playfield the layer containing the objects with which the player interacts for various reasons, such as to provide increased dimension, obscure some of the action of the game, or distract the player. The Sprite Method. Programmers may also make pseudo-layers of sprites individually controllable moving objects drawn by hardware on top of or behind the layer if they are available on the display system. For instance, Star Force, an overhead view vertically scrolling shooter for NES, used this for its starfield, and Final Fight for the Super NES used this technique for the layer immediately in front of the main playfield. The Repeating Pattern Animation Method. Scrolling displays built up of individual tiles can be made to float over a repeating background layer by animating the individual tiles' bitmaps in order to portray the parallax effect. Color cycling can be used to animate tiles quickly on the whole screen. This software effect gives the illusion of another layer. Many games use this technique for a scrolling star field, but sometimes a more intricate or multi-directional effect is achieved, such as in the game Parallax by Sensible Software. The raster method. In raster graphics, the lines of pixels in an image are typically composited and refreshed in top-to-bottom order with a slight delay between drawing one line and drawing the next line. Games designed for older graphical chipsets such as those of the third and fourth generations of video game consoles, those of dedicated TV games, or those of similar handheld systems take advantage of the raster characteristics to create the illusion of more layers. Some display systems have only one layer. These include most of the classic 8-bit systems. The more sophisticated games on such systems generally divide the layer into horizontal strips, each with a different position and rate of scrolling. Typically, strips higher on the screen will represent things farther away from the virtual camera, or one strip will be held stationary to display status information. The program will then wait for horizontal blank and change the layer's scroll position just before the display system begins to draw each scan line. This is called a raster effect, and is also useful for changing the system palette to provide a gradient background. Some platforms provide a horizontal blank interrupt for automatically setting the registers independently of the rest of the program. Others, such as the NES, require the use of cycle-timed code, which is specially written to take exactly as long to execute as the video chip takes to draw one scan line, or timers inside game cartridges that generate interrupts after a given number of scan lines have been drawn. Many NES games use this technique to draw their status bars, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, and Vice, Project Doom for NES use it to scroll background layers at different rates. More advanced raster techniques can produce interesting effects. A system can achieve a very effective depth of field if layers with rasters are combined. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, ActRaiser, Lionheart and Street Fighter II used this effect well. If each scan line has its own layer, the pole position effect is produced, which creates a pseudo 3D road on a 2D system. If the display system supports rotation and scaling in addition to scrolling an effect popularly known as Mode 7 changing the rotation and scaling factors can draw projection of a plane or can warp the playfield to create an extra challenge factor. Example, in the following animation, 3 layers are moving leftward at different speeds. Their speeds decrease from front to back and correspond to increases in relative distance from the viewer. The ground layer is moving 8 times faster than the vegetation layer. The vegetation layer is moving 2 times faster than the cloud layer. Parallax scrolling in web design. Web designers began incorporating parallax scrolling in 2011, using HTML5 and CSS3. Websites with parallax backgrounds are becoming an increasingly popular strategy, as advocates argue it is a simple way to embrace the fluidity of the web. Additionally, proponents use parallax backgrounds as a tool to better engage users and improve the overall experience that a website provides. However, a Purdue University study, published in 2013, revealed the following findings. Although parallax scrolling enhanced certain aspects of the user experience, it did not necessarily improve the overall user experience. Pros: parallax scrolling allows for the creation of dynamic, interactive user experience that has the potential to improve visual appeal. It enables content publisher to display content on a single page, therefore reducing navigation and clicks required for an end user to consume the content. With parallax scrolling, a user can be led around a website according to a designer's or UX expert's intent. Cons: because parallax scrolling involves the use of heavy animation, it can take web pages longer to load. Parallax scrolling does not function smoothly across all browsers. Parallax scrolling can make it difficult or frustrating for the end user to easily consume content due to excessive scrolling. With the rise of mobile users navigating the Internet, designers or UX experts must translate the effect of the experience for mobile device to avoid compatibility problems. See also, 2.5D, belt scroll, scrolling, references, cap. To the rescue. New Straits Times Malaysia. September 1, 1988. Retrieved July 6, 2009. Paul, Wyatt. The Art of Parallax Scrolling. Retrieved July 6, 2009. Stahl, Ted. Chronology of the History of Video Games, Golden Age. Retrieved July 6, 2009. Gaming's Most Important Evolutions. Games Radar. October 8, 2010. PA3. Retrieved April 27, 2011. Dan Cederholm. Ethan Market. Handcrafted CSS, More Bulletproof Web Design. New Riders PPA 5 €. ISBN A978-0-13-210481-4. D. Dem Frederick. The Effects of Parallax Scrolling on User Experience and Preference in Web Design. Purdue University. Purdue University. Retrieved April 17, 2014. A.